position of Hopkins Junior High, soon to be middle school principal. I'm really, really happy to be here serving our students, our families, our staff. This is my first year. I also have two kids myself. My older one is at Kennedy High School. My younger one is at Meadows Elementary. So I'm understanding also on the other side, the parents wanting, of course, to know the school before you come here and get to know the programs that we offer. So welcome. Thank you for joining us. And I'll let also our wonderful assistant principal, Mrs. Moore, introduce herself as well.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I am Mrs. Moore, the assistant principal, and thank you for coming. Again, I know many of you came last night, which is good. That was the overall picture of Hopkins, and then today we will talk specifically about the Immersion program.
All right, before we get started, we also have our Mandarin interpreter, Susan, and our Spanish interpreter, Claudia. I'll let them introduce themselves and also explain that in the moment when we open up the interpretation channels, you will be able to see a globe on the bottom of your Zoom screen. And that's when you can join either the Chinese or the Spanish interpretations. That way you can hear the Chinese or the Spanish language of this presentation. So Claudia, I'll let you translate that part first and also introduce yourself, of course.
Hola, muy buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Claudia. Voy a ser la intérprete de la versión en español de esta presentación. Estamos hablando acerca del programa de dúo de inmersión en Hopkins. A continuación está la directora de la escuela, al igual que la asistente directora de la escuela, ambas aquí para prestarles la información que quieren brindarles. En un momento van a activar la parte de la traducción. La forma que la puedan activar es oprimando el globo en la pantalla. Abajo de la pantalla se va a activar un globo. Lo opriman y seleccionan el lenguaje de español. Al momento que hagan eso, se va a mudar el lenguaje original y van a escuchar mi voz en sustitución de la voz de la principal y de la asistente directora. Gracias.
各位家长晚上好，我是今天的中文翻译，我是 Susan。刚才Hopkins 的校长Nancy 她介绍了她自己的情况，她是今年第1年在 Hopkins 做校长，她很高兴能为家长服务，能为学生和家长服务。她有2个孩子，都在弗雷姆校区。另外我们的副校长Jennifer Moore 刚才也介绍了，等会儿在接下来的这个他们会介绍弗雷姆学区为新加入的7年级的家长介绍弗雷姆学区的关于双语沉浸式教育的项目的情况。那么我们今天提供中文和西班牙语的翻译，您可以在您的屏幕的右下角能看到一个图标，是球形的图标，您可以点击那个图标，然后点击您所需要的语言，中文，然后您都能进到中文频道去听中文的翻译，实时翻译。如果有什么问题，中间是不能提问的。这个整个讲座结束以后，您可以通过 channel 频道去提问，并得到相应的回答。谢谢。Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Claudia and Susan. We're going to go ahead and start interpretation channels right now.
And did we start the webinar? Have you?
Not yet. Yeah, I'm going to start in a moment. All right. So right now the interpretation channels are available. You should be able to see the globe on the bottom to click on whether it's Spanish or the Chinese channels to join. And if you would like to hear the English version, you don't have to do anything. You just stay put and we're going to go ahead and get started. And I also want to let everyone know that tonight's presentation is being recorded as well as live streamed, just so that you know that part. And if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the Q&A part so that we can try to answer as much as possible during the presentation as well. 3, 2, 1. All right, so right now what I'm going to do is I will go ahead and first share our slideshow in, actually I don't see the chat. Oh, I see a chat, okay. So I'm going to be sharing the slideshow link in our chat. That way you can click on the slideshow if you would like to follow along. And go ahead and share screen as well. All right, so our purpose tonight is we're going to be explaining our middle school program. As I said earlier, we are going to be converting from a junior high to middle school, adding a 6th grade level next year. We're really excited about that. Tonight, we're also going to be providing some guidance about registration, the classes that your students are picking to take next year. And just a reminder also that the forms and the packets and your 2 proofs of residency, those are all due back to your 6th grade teachers by this Friday, March 3rd. And we're also going to be talking about different ways to get help and support and information as well. All right, so just looking ahead, making sure that you know and that you're marking on the calendar that in August, we will be sending out a newsletter to all of you through email, and that will contain all of the forms and the information needed for May's Day and the back to school night. And the forms will be mailed out to you as well. So we have our web day, that's really important. That's on August 8th. From 12:30 to 2:30 will be for our incoming 7th graders. WEB stands for Where Everyone Belongs. It's a really important program where our student leaders in the 8th grade, they are going to be designing and leading fun activities so that students get a chance to connect with each other before school starts and make new friends, and also get to walk around the campus so that they can see where their classes could be located. We also have our May's Day, and that specific time right there is for our 7th graders. And that's the day when students get to pick up their schedules, they take their ID pictures, get more school forms that are important for the rest of the year. They can sign up for their ASB card that will give them discounts to come to our social. That's our fun evening activities. That's a blend of dance, games, and music. And they'll also get a chance to buy Hopkins swag, so clothing, any Hopkins caps, so different things that our PFA will sell that day as well. And the first day of school, that's also super important, will be August 16th. All right, so we are your administration team. We're really excited to be welcoming our 2nd assistant principal next year, and that will be announced very soon. But I included our contact information right there so that you can contact us if you have any questions that we're not able to answer tonight. In addition to, of course, who you see right here, we also have our counselors who are a really important support for our students. Our 7th grade counselor next year will be Ms. Kim. Her contact information is right there. And you also have the 8th grade counselor information, Ms. Moore, and 6th grade counselor will be announcing that soon as well. And counselors can help with many things. They can help, of course, with academic planning, but they can also help just as importantly, the social emotional part of your child's life too at Hopkins. Especially we're seeing that in middle school when they are starting to become more independent as well as more aware of their own identity and their relationships with peers, that sometimes there are crunchy things that happen that a counselor could be good listening ears and good guidance for them to figure out how to deal with the different social situations with other students. So you have their contact information there as well. And in addition to the counselors, we have an office staff team that's also a big help to all of our students. I want all of our families and our students to think of our main office as a big place for getting help and getting information. We have our secretary, Mrs. Espacio. She's there to answer any questions about ASB cards and any questions about donations for our school and updating our school calendar. If you have any questions about registration forms, transcripts, ID cards, report cards, our registrar, Ms. Loeb, is the person to go to. attendance and COVID reports. That will be Ms. Young. We also have our campus supervisor that's there to help direct traffic in the morning, helping make sure that the students and the staff are both safe. And he is very active walking around throughout the day as an extra set of eyes for our campus. Ms. Ruella is another office assistant. And we also have a part-time nurse, Ms. Marcia. She's there to help with medical records, medications that need to be kept on campus, and also any health situations that maybe happen unexpectedly. Right. And one other big group of support for our families would be our Parent Faculty Association. If it takes a village to raise a child, I really like this quote and believe deeply that it does take a village. Teenage years are not easy, and there's no manual, right, that comes with every child, and every child is so different. It takes a village to raise a child, but then it also takes a village to support every child's parent. So think of the Parent Faculty Association as all of our village. You are automatically a member of the PFA, the Parent Faculty Association, just by being a parent or a guardian at Hopkins. And they do a lot of different activities to support the school and our students. They raise money so that we are able to purchase materials and resources in addition to what the district provides us. And they also help with helping us gather volunteers too, with traffic control in the morning and afternoon, and also with our different events that take place. Social, for example, is a big event that our PFA helps to make happen. And our 8th grade promotion, they play a huge part in organizing that event. They meet every first Wednesday of the month. And next year, it might continue to be on Zoom or it might be in person. That has not been decided. And again, as Hopkins parents and guardians, you are all invited to attend their meetings to be informed and help make decisions, right? Different ways to help PFA would be making donations, especially in the beginning of the year, because that amount will help the group decide where they can help the school by having the amount, knowing how much the donations they have. And or you can donate your time for different events like the social. And the volunteer form will be in your Maze packet when your child comes for Maze Day. We also have, you can volunteer to fill any of the open positions that's be part of the board. The board positions, especially with our 8th grade families leaving us, there will be more open positions that you can join as incoming families. And those positions will be available in March. Once I receive that information from our president, Ms. Pratika Gupta, I will be forwarding that to the elementary school principals to help spread the word to you all, so that if you're interested, you can also apply for these open positions. And the website link is right there so that you can click on to just see more about what they do and what they have done already this year. Another group, especially for our Mandarin Immersion program families, is the Chinese Immersion Parent Council of Fremont. So this is a group that supports our Mandarin Immersion students from elementary all the way to high school. And they have already been funding classroom purchases, library book purchases, and also help organize our cultural celebrations like the Lunar New Year picture that you see here. That would not be possible without the group's support. They also meet monthly, and the location and the dates are to be determined for next year. And the website for their that group is right here for you to take a look as well. If you might already be part of it because you're coming from elementary school Mandarin Immersion program. All right, I will hand the mic now over to our Mrs. Moore to go over registration.
All right, so I'll walk you through the registration process. I did this yesterday, but for Immersion, there is some differences. So we'll look at the form. I'll talk to you about signing up for honors classes. We have both science honors and English honors. We'll look at the accelerated math guidelines for the math pathways. And then the possible ranking of elective choices. And we'll get to that soon. So the next slide. So for dual immersion students, your students, like all students at Hopkins, will be taking 6 classes. Every student will be taking English, math, science, and PE. Those are all taught in English. And then the immersion classes, there'll be 2. There'll be the world history class, as well as the language arts class. So the history and language arts class, those are the immersion classes. So they're either taught in Spanish or Mandarin. The language arts class is the elective. So all students are required to take English, math, science, PE, history, and then 1 elective. For our dual immersion students, they do have an option to take a 0 period, and I'll show you what that looks like. By taking a 0 period, this will allow your student to take a second elective, for example, art, band, leadership, or film. So this is a sample bell schedule without the 0 period. This is what the majority of our students have. So they always start at 8:15 and they end at 2:27. For a 0 period class, however, on the next slide, you'll see that class starts at 7:25. So again, by taking that 0 period, that's going to allow your student to have the second elective class. So 0 period, it might be a PE class, it might be a math class, it could be an English class. I don't know what class it'll be yet because we haven't created the schedule. But again, by doing the 0 period, it will give your student 7 classes instead of 6. And that 7th class will be a second elective. So this is the registration form that we went through yesterday. If you were with us, if not, I'll walk you through it again. This is the form that is due on Friday with all of your proofs of residency and vaccinations. On this form, you're going to be indicating which English class, science class, math class, and electives if you're opting for the 0 period. There's a portion on there that will be completed by your 6th grade teacher, and then your 6th grade teachers will be forwarding these forms to us probably sometime next week. So we'll go to the next slide. So for the honors English and honors science, you'll be indicating if you want your child to be in honors English or honors science. And there are 2 ways for your child to meet the district's criteria. Either your child is GATE identified in math or English, or they have earned A's or B's all throughout 6th grade. For English, they have to earn all A's or B's in reading and writing, all 3 trimesters. And for honors science, they have to earn all A's or B's in reading, writing, and math, all 3 trimesters in 6th grade. If your school uses a number system instead of a letter system, then we look for 4s or 3s. And we try to stress to everybody, just because your child qualifies for honors does not mean they have to take honors. So it's a choice that as a family you make. The classes, the non-honors, those are called college prep. So we have college prep or honors classes, only for English and science. And then the next slide. This is regarding math. So for math, there is an accelerated math class that you can indicate on the green form that you're interested in. For accelerated math, the district does not look at grades and they do not look at GATE identification. The only thing we're looking at is your students' iReady scores in 6th grade. So in the fall, they took a test, and in the winter, they took a test. And so I've indicated the scores that your child needed to score in order to be eligible. So in the fall, a 495 or higher, and in the winter, a 514 or higher. And there's a practice assessment that if your child does meet the qualifications and you're thinking about doing it, there's a practice assessment you can give your child, and we'll talk more about that on the next page. So for math, there are 3 levels of math in 7th grade. We have a Math Essentials, that's a remedial course. That one you cannot sign up for. This one, your child will be placed depending on your student's math level. So any student who is 2 grade levels or lower than their grade level will be placed in the Math Essentials. Then we have the grade level class, the CC2. Right now, all 6th graders are taking CC1. So in 7th grade, they go to CC2. And then the accelerated one is the CC2/CC3. So accelerated means you are doing more math in a shorter amount of time. It's the same math that the regular pathway student will take, but in 7th grade, a regular pathway student will do CC2 for the whole year, whereas an accelerated, they'll do all of CC2 in the first semester. And then the second semester, they'll move on to CC3. So on this slide, there's a link that will direct you to that practice test I was telling you about. You all should have received a letter from the district back in December. If you scroll to the second page, you will see where Ms. Quay is pointing out, there's a sample math placement test that you can give your child. The answer key is provided as well. And this letter will tell you, don't let them use a calculator, don't give them any assistance, give them like a time, to complete the test. And then it will also tell you what the recommended score is. So if your student scores well, according to this letter, then he or she may be a good candidate for accelerated. If your child does not score well, then I would seriously consider not putting your child in there, even if they got the iReady score. Accelerated math is fast, it's fast paced, and it isn't the best fit for all students, even if their math skills are strong. So again, for English, your child will have 2 options to sign up for, either honors or the college prep. I've listed what the essential questions and themes are that the English teachers look at. All students, whether they're a college prep or honors, they'll be reading the same curriculum and doing a lot of the same assignments. For science, again, you'll have the option to sign up for honors. The science curriculum uses the next generation science standards and as well as the Amplify curriculum. Most of this curriculum is online. There's not a textbook, but they do have a workbook. World history, this is the class that will be taught in the language. So it's either going to be taught in Spanish or Mandarin. This is one of your students' immersion classes. And I've listed the different units and topics that will be studied. And then physical education, your child will have PE every day. I met with your students. I met with Lila Bringhurst early on in February, and I just recently visited with Blake Howe. They came to Hopkins, which was nice. And a lot of them were very excited about the fact that they'll have PE every day. And so we talked about the PE units that they'll be doing, as well as going into the locker room and having a locker assigned to them and changing into PE clothes. So that made a lot of students excited as well as nervous. So regarding the 0 period for immersion students, again, if you opt for the 0 period, this is going to allow you to have that additional elective. So on the form in the top left corner, or it might be the top right, it's at the top of your child's registration form, there will be a sticker. And on that sticker, you're going to indicate which school your child attends, whether it's Bringhurst or Blake Howe. And then you're going to indicate if you want the 0 period or not. If you leave the sticker blank, then I take that as a no, that you do not want it. So make sure if you do want the 0 period that you check the yes.
And also just want to pause to add that what information that you provide to us when you turn the registration paperwork in, that's the information that we use to help advocate with the district in terms of how many teachers that they will give to teach 0 period. So that information for us is really important so that we do our best to make sure that however many students would like to take 0 period, that the district supports us with providing the sections to make it happen. So please make sure that you are giving us the accurate information when you do turn in that registration form. If you change your mind in the summer or when the school year starts, that's when we cannot guarantee if space will be available.
Thank you. So if your child is going to opt for that 0 period, these are the electives that they get to choose from to put on that form. So we have semester classes and we have full year classes. So semester classes, they'll need to have 2 for the whole year. And then the full year, they just stay in that class. For example, orchestra, they would just stay in orchestra for the whole year. But for semester classes, they would be taking 2, like film and production and handicrafts. That might be there too. So on the next slide, we'll look at that form. And again, this is only if your child's going to take the 0 period. If they're not taking the 0 period, there's no need to fill this out. But you're going to rank the elective choices. You're going to choose 6 and rank them 1 through 6. So 1 would indicate your first choice, 2 would indicate your second choice, and so forth. We do not guarantee students their first choice. That's why we want them to give us 6 choices to choose from. Any elective with an asterisk after it, that indicates it's a semester course. So again, that would mean your child needs 2 of those for the year. And if you have any questions about what these courses are, you can go to the course catalog. We have a link there for you so that you can look up what the classes are. We have lots of ways for your students to get involved on campus. We have many clubs. These are just a few of the clubs that are happening this year. The clubs meet during lunch times. They're open to anybody. Your student can be involved in more than 1 club. They can go to 1 club a day. So many ways for them to be involved. And again, they're open to everyone. These are names of our department chairs and the departments. So if you have specific questions, you can always reach out to these individuals about their department or program. And then a reminder, we have our open house coming up in April. You are all invited to attend to see the student work that has happened this year and get a nice feel for Hopkins.
All right, so we have some time for Q&A, but I also want to just make sure that everyone knows on the very last slide, we have a really, really cool virtual campus tour video. It's about 4 to 5 minutes long, where our students, our film students, the current film students from Hopkins, they put together this tour to show you the cool places and different ways to get support and what the classes are like around Hopkins. So this is a video that you could also watch. And if we have time later, if we are able to answer all the questions, we can also share that toward the end of this presentation too. But right now it's time for questions and answer. If you do have questions, please put it in the Q&A.
So I'll go ahead and start with a question regarding a student who has an IEP, and I thank you for bringing this up because this is important. And so because the dual immersion is 2 periods, they have to have that history and that language arts. Any student who requires core support or resource, they have to take the 0 period. There's no way around it. So a student who requires resource, we call it core support. That's what we call it at Hopkins, but it's the same thing as resource. They have to have the 0 period in order to have both programs. So in order to receive special ed services as well as the dual immersion, you do need to indicate a 0. a zero period. There's just no other way around that. I hope that answers your question. And thank you for asking.
All right, there are questions about after school supervision and programs available. So I'll just answer that so everyone knows that our library is open until 4:30 every day, including Friday. And this is where students can go after school. There are Chromebooks available in the library. They can read, they can work in small groups. We also have after school team sports. We have basketball and volleyball for girls team and also boys team. So that happens. We have one sport each season that's available for students to try out to join next year. And they have practices usually every day as well. And then when they don't have practices, they either have home games or they have away games with the other middle school programs. And we try to work with local organizations to bring more after school programs as well. This year, for example, we work with San Jose Art Museum to have their art educator come on campus to have after school art sessions for students, because we know that art is not something that maybe a lot of students could get to enjoy as one of their electives, but a lot of our students are into art, and it's a great way for social emotional learning as well. So we're looking to continue that partnership next year, is to have that art session after school.
So I'll answer a couple questions. One, there's a question about free lunch next year. As far as we know, both breakfast and lunch will be free next year. We haven't heard otherwise. If that changes, we'll certainly let you know, but we anticipate lunch will be free. And then another question had to do with grades and teacher recommendation for accelerated math. We will not be looking at grades or teacher recommendation. We are going to follow the district criteria and only look at the iReady scores. So that is the only way that a student will be eligible for accelerated math, is the iReady scores from either the fall or winter.
The next question, we have a question about CP and honors English are the same curriculum in the same classroom. So the difference between CP and honors English is that they are the honors English, the students who are choosing that pathway, they are receiving more challenging tasks to complete and sometimes additional books to read too. So we recommend this pathway for students who really enjoy reading and writing, because they're going to be enjoying those additional challenges. But at the same time, they're in the same classroom because as a school, we also believe in the benefit of heterogeneous classrooms where students bring in different perspectives. Just because their English levels are maybe not the same doesn't mean they don't benefit from different discussions with each other and different interpretations of the books that they read. So that's why in English, we have the class, we call it the double coded classes, where they get to be in the same classroom together.
Okay, there's a question regarding, somebody said they didn't attend yesterday, so they came today, but they're not familiar with what the Immersion program is. If you want to learn about the Immersion program, I recommend you go to the district's website and search dual immersion, and you'll see the overview. This is not a program that you can just jump into or sign up for. Most of these students have been in this program since kindergarten. That doesn't mean all of them have. If you want your child to join the Immersion program, they have to be tested in, and that all happens with the district. We have nothing to do with that. So if you are interested in learning more, look at the district's website, search dual immersion. And then if you want your child to be tested to see if they qualify, you would follow the directions that's listed on the district's website. I see a question about, do seventh graders have to switch around classes? Yes, they do. Most seventh graders will have 6 different teachers. For dual immersion students, they have at least 5, because their dual immersion teacher will be teaching 2 classes to them. Any dual immersion student who takes that 0 period will have 6 teachers. So yes, they change classrooms. There's a 5-minute passing period. And so they'll move classrooms throughout the day.
Okay, so there's a question about what is the advantage of doing accelerated math? So accelerated math, once again, that's when the students are in a class where as a seventh grader, they get to finish seventh grade as well as eighth grade math in 1 year. And then if their grades continue to be good, they get to stay in accelerated math in their eighth grade year where they will finish eighth grade math and ninth grade math in that 1 year of eighth grade accelerated math. So the advantage is for students who really enjoy math and they usually learn math pretty quickly. They get the concepts, they're able to also think more deeply in terms of math, and they're not going to be overwhelmed. And they may be bored if the speed is too slow. So that's the advantage for our students. Again, if they're iReady math scores qualify them for accelerated math, and they also enjoyed just that fast speed class pacing, that would be a class for that type of students.
There's a question about joining a sports team every season. So we do have two after school. We have two different types of teams that all take place after school. We have both boys and girls basketball and boys and girls volleyball. So we have one team per season. So a student would not be able to join every season. They'd be on one team or the other. They'd have to try out to make the team. And then if they make the team, then they would go to the practices and the games. There's eight games per season. So a student will have the opportunity to possibly be on both the basketball and volleyball team. The order, it's usually first quarter is girls volleyball, second quarter is boys basketball, third quarter girls basketball, that's what we're in right now, and then fourth quarter is boys volleyball.
There's a question about the difference between honors and college prep. College prep is grade level, and honors will be more challenging work beyond grade level.
There's a question, how many teachers are for the dual immersion program? If I understand your question correctly, like how many teachers will your child have? Your child could potentially have up to 2 different dual immersion teachers because there's 2 dual immersion classes. Generally speaking, it's usually the same teacher, but it's, anything could happen with schedule making. So your child could have up to 2 different dual immersion.
There's a question about how do students enroll in CP or honors, and what's the difference between science CP honors and English CP honors. So in science, the CP and honors classes are separate, and they enroll based on, again, the grades of what they receive on the standards on their report card. And Mrs. Moore, do you want to talk specifically about the scores they have to have for science and English?
Yeah, so to be eligible for honors, science, or English, we look at one of 2 things. Either your child is gate identified, or we look at the grades, and it's on the slide, so you can go back and look at it. To be eligible for honors English, your student has to receive all A's and B's in reading and writing, all 3 trimesters. And to be eligible for honors science, your child has to have all A's and B's in reading, writing, and math, all 3 trimesters. And then again, if your school uses a number system, we would look at 3s and 4s.
The next question is about second elective, if that is exclusively for dual immersion students or any child can opt in. And the answer is the 0 period is only available for dual immersion students in the 6th and 7th grade level.
And 8th grade.
And 8th grade, right, that's right.
Just to clarify, there is one other group of students. It's this is board approved. This is not something that we as a school decide. So the board approved 2 different groups of students to have the 0 period. One is our immersion students, whether they are 6th, 7th, or 8th graders. The other group are the 8th grade advanced orchestra students. So any 8th grade advanced orchestra student also has the option of a 0 period. All other students do not have access to the 0 period. It's just those two groups.
All right, I'm not seeing any more questions in the Q&A.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading there's a thing in the, you're welcome. The person's thanking us for doing this. We did do these, we've done these every year that I know of, because I've been at Hopkins since immersion program started. So it's possible you just didn't get the invite or something, because we have done this every year, but I'm glad you were able to attend today's meeting for your child that's coming in. Let's see.
So the next question is, are there other advantages of accelerated math? I don't know if the underlying question is about whether this helps with college. We just want to make sure that families understand that colleges, they don't look at the middle school transcripts. If you go back to our slide, there's a link to the district math pathway so that you can see how taking accelerated math in middle school could lead to different types of math classes in high school. But those math classes are still also available as options for students who are not in accelerated math as well. But when you go on our website or our slide link and click on the math pathways, you'll be able to see more clearly what types of math classes are available for students once they go to high school.
A parent asked if there's a difference between content with the CP and honors classes. And really, no, the content is the same. They use the same curriculum. It's the rigor that will be different, or the, depending on the assignment. I can use English as an example, for writing an essay, for example, or even something in science, if they're doing like a science lab. For the college prep students, the teacher will scaffold more, give them like more sentence starters, help them out with drafting their writing. For the honor students, they'll have a higher expectancy to do it on their own with less hand holding, if you will. So that would be an example of a difference. If it comes to like answering prompts, a college prep student might be required to do 2 prompts. Honor student might be required to do 3, maybe 4, depending on the assignment. So the rigor will be different, but the content will be the same.
So the next question is about open house. Yes, our teachers will be present at open house, and this is another opportunity for you and your child to come and walk around campus and see. We consider our open house an expo of learning, so you can see the different student projects that have been completed throughout the year in different content areas. And where you can also meet our teachers and have a chance to speak with them. You're welcome.
Okay, yeah, so the question came up again about IEPs. So a student who is in the immersion program, but also has an IEP, which requires a period of core support, we are going to have to place your student in core support. We need to be able to provide those services. So when it comes to that 0 period option, you will need to indicate yes. Even if you indicate no, we're going to still have to put your child in 0 period in order for your child to receive both services. So that's a long day for students. And I can understand the concern that some parents may have, not wanting their child to be starting school so early in the morning at 7:25 and going until 2:27. So, I would put the IEP, personally, my opinion is the IEP should come first. If you're trying to decide if you want your child to be in both programs, I would definitely want to keep your child with the IEP services. And you can talk to your child's case manager more to get a better feel, because you and your case manager know your child better than I do right now. But if you're going to come to Hopkins and be in the immersion program and your child requires a resource, they will have those, they will have that as their extra elective. And then they will not have the option to sign up for another elective like art or band. They're not allowed to have 3 electives. They will only have 2.
Right, the next question is about construction. It's not done right now, but by the time we start the next school year, it should be done, with the exception of just minor details that they need to finish. So right now we already opened up our multi-purpose building. If you have driven around Hopkins, you'll see this brand new, really tall building that's right by our bus loop. That's already done, and they're finishing up just minor details inside that building. But we have already used that building to house multiple concerts, drama production, and our PE classes take place inside that space too. It truly is a multiple use space. And next year, when we do have more students, the multi-purpose building will also be opened up for lunchtime, and for students to be enjoying lunchtime in and out of the building.
We used to have tennis courts. The tennis courts are now the J building. So we lost our tennis courts when construction happened.
And the J building houses 10 new classrooms that will be done around mid-June.
Any more questions? Ms. Quay, when will the the recordings be posted on our website? I know they are being recorded and they will be posted. Do you have a date?
Yeah, it's as soon as tomorrow. So on our website, when you click on our registration link, you will be able to see already yesterday's recording. It's already posted. Yeah.
So there's a question asking if you can add a second elective mid-year, and I may need some clarification. Are you meaning like if you don't have a 0 period, but you want to add a 0 period in the middle of the year? Is that what you're referring to? So okay, yes. So Ms. Quay indicated, we base our master schedule based on what you turn into us. What you submit to the teacher on March 3rd is how we start making our schedule for next year. So if you change your mind midway through the year or even earlier, we will make changes when space is available. The 0 period is harder to fit students in. So if you're thinking you want the 0 period, I would definitely indicate that on the form. It will most likely be easier for me to pull your child out than to put your child into the 0 period. But again, 7:25, I will be honest, not every student was excited to see the start time at 7:25. So that's early. So again, have that conversation with your child and what's best for the family. I should also, I'm glad so many of you are still here. Since we're on the topic of 0 period, one of the things I should have told you is that a student who is tardy to 0 period or unexcused to 0 period 10 times, they are dropped. They are dropped from 0 period. So if you're going to be in 0 period, you're expected to be there. You're expected to be on time. So a student who is habitually late, and it's in our handbook, in our Hopkins handbook. So for 0 period, if you are tardy or unexcused 10 times, you lose the privilege of 0 period. Unless you are with a core support. If you have core support, we don't have an option to drop you. You have to have that extra core support. The 0 period is only at Hopkins because it's only for the immersion students. Hopkins is the only middle school that has immersion. And then it's also for the advanced orchestra students who are 8th grade. And I believe we're the only school that has that at this time.
So one person asked about the vaccination form due dates. So of course, as soon as possible, the absolute last day to turn it in will be the day before school starts, because without the updated vaccination information, we will not be able to, unfortunately, be able to allow the students to attend classes. And there's a question about how to join a club. Our students, we post our daily bulletin, and it's a video that the first period teachers show students every day. And in that daily bulletin video, that's when the students can see the club meeting time, meeting days. And our students are also encouraged to start clubs too, if they want to start a sticker club and exchange stickers. They can talk with the counselor, and the counselor can help direct them to find an advisor, a teacher who can help advise the club for them. And they would just then start the club and start meeting.
Joe, I see your question about proof of residency. So everything should be submitted to your student's current school. So you've got the registration form, the proof of residency, the vaccination forms, that all gets submitted to your 6th grade teacher. And then your child's school will then forward that information to our site. I hope that answers your question. I don't know about the appointment. It says you need to schedule an appointment. I'm not sure what that's referring to.
But on our end, we'll definitely reach out to you when we receive your information and the packet that you turned in, if we see anything that's still missing, we'll reach out to you too.
So regarding the club, if a student is wanting to create a club, it's pretty easy to do it. The first and foremost is they have to make it inclusive for all students. It can't be exclusive. And then they have to find a teacher who is willing to supervise during lunchtime. So that teacher will host the club meetings in their classroom. And then from there, we can, guide the student on what to do. We are not offering Web and Maze Day on different days. So if you're out of town, we'll miss you, but there won't be another day to do that. And just know that Web and Maze Day are not mandatory, but we do hope your student will be able to join us. There is not a robotic club this year. That doesn't mean there couldn't be a robotic club next year. The robotic clubs are the clubs are created by student interest. So it's whatever interest students, they tend to form the clubs themselves because it's what they're interested in. So they vary year to year.
And if you're going to be out of town, you can also pick up the forms and the schedule when you come back as well. And on the first day of school, the students can still pick up their schedule and the forms that you missed when you're out of town. How many anticipated students for incoming 7th grades? So we're anticipating about the same number of students coming in as this year. So that's about 450 students for 7th grade. Right, we'll wait a little while in case you still have questions. Again, feel free to put it in Q&A. And I want to encourage everyone to take a moment to watch again the virtual tour of Hopkins. It is really impressive to see middle school students putting together a video like that. And you get to see what our students are like too. They're pretty funny and joyous. So I want to encourage you to watch that video. And hopefully you can join us too at open house so you can see the different projects that our students have done throughout the year in different content areas. Thank you for joining us. If you don't have any more questions, enjoy the rest of your night. We know that you all have had a long day as well. I think I see a question.
It's asking about the student-teacher ratio. So the class sizes vary depending on the course. A class can be, most classes are around 33 students. Some can go up to 45. Music class can go up to 65. The PE classes can go up to 45. Classes that are remedial, like for example, the math essentials class, we keep those much smaller so that the student can have more one-to-one. So I think our current essentials class is maybe around, I want to say about between 12 and 15 students. So it's smaller. The resource classes are even smaller. They can be at like 8 or lower. So it just depends on the course, but I would say an average would be 33.
All right. You're welcome. Thank you so much. It's 7:30 right now. Again, please enjoy the rest of your night and please also continue to reach out to us. We're happy to answer any additional questions that maybe come up after tonight. We're here to support and we can't wait to be welcoming your students and also all of you to Hopkins next year. We're looking forward to that. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, good night, everyone.